Hello, hello, and welcome to the Max Fortune Show. I'm your host, Max Fortune, and I'm specialized in helping people achieve their dreams and goals, build their businesses, and help them with innovative marketing techniques, as well as coaching people who want to write books quickly and affordably. And today, I have two very special guests here with me. I have Joe Farina here, who's become a personal development specialist, who has worked and published both published by actually both in book and magazine
Correct.
form.
Yep.
And I also have Deborah McIver, who has started her own global online marketing company. And they're going to be sharing some tips on site or tips and some insights on how they became successful in their careers. And for those of you who are not familiar with me, I'm a Max Fortune. I'm an author, motivational speaker, entrepreneur, life coach, publisher, book coach, and a business consultant. And I'm also the president and CEO of Fortune Publishing Group, and where we help people publish their books quickly and affordably. And I personally have written three books, first being Success, the Blueprint to Achieving Your Dreams and Goals, Get Rich in Your Niche, which is a book for business owners and helping them create innovative marketing techniques. And my last book is How to Publish a Book and Make a Fortune. And the shows that I'll be bringing forth on this network is really going to focus around those three books. And the first Thursday of every month is the first Thursday. I'm going to be highlighting how to become a success, and I'm going to be sharing tips and pointers on how to accomplish your dreams and goals, and also using information from my book on success, as well as esteemed guests who are going to come on the show. The second Thursday of every month, we're going to focus on how to get rich in your niche, and this show is going to focus on how to start, market, and or grow your business. And the third Thursday of every month, we're going to be focusing on how to publish a book and make a fortune. And there we're going to uncover some tips on how to create a book around your business and how to use that book as a brochure to grow your business. Now, the fourth Thursday of every month, I'm actually going to be joined by my lovely wife, Nicole Fortune, and that show is going to focus on information for couples who desire to grow their relationships, and you're definitely going to want to join in on that show. Now, we're obviously filming this live here today, and so we do welcome any comments online. We're also, you can call into the show, and the number to call into the show if you have questions for me or any of the guests is 301-429-9247. So again, you can call 301-429-9247 if you want to call in and speak to me or any of the guests on the show. So I'm going to kind of start in going on some of these topics with today. So I'm going to, the topic I want to focus on is success, and one of the things I want to focus on is knowing yourself. And so I'm going to kind of address my guests, but before I kind of go into that, I'm going to actually formally introduce each one of them so you kind of have a more formal idea of who each one of them are. And so I'm going to start with you, Joe. So Joe Farina here is an entrepreneur who has owned multiple businesses, both online and offline, including retail stores in the sports supplement industry rather. Now, he's also become a personal development specialist who has had his work published in both book and magazine form. Joe also brings a wide variety of experiences with everything from police officer and an academy instructor to network marketer. Now, during his time in law enforcement, he was a member of the elite unit called the High Angle Rescue Team, and he has spoken to a wide variety of groups about success and his journey. And his greatest accomplishments after his experiences being engaged to be married next year to the love of his life, Holly.
That is
Yes,
correct.
yes, very good, very good.
Yeah.
So also to his left is Deborah McIver, and Deborah has spent actually the last 22 years of her personal career as a corporate executive, leading, training, and developing leaders through management, performance, and leadership. She also left corporate America in 2006, I believe it was.
Correct.
And she stated that started her own entrepreneurial journey, which is what we're going to talk about today. She started her own successful global online marketing company. And Deborah has been blessed to build a business that lends itself and position her to focus on training, mentoring, and coaching others to be a success as well. Now, additionally, Deborah's life experience professionally as well as personally have allowed her to understand and endorse the fact that success is often determined by your ability to lead, knowing that everything rises and falls with leadership. a level of commitment that is undeniable, and a strong determination to succeed. I think we can all agree with that, those principles. Now, Deborah is also known as a John Maxwell certified coach, a teacher, trainer, and a speaker. She can offer workshops, seminars, keynote speaking, coaching, aiding your personal and professional growth through study and practical application. Also, says you will move you and your team or organization in the desired direction to reach your goals. She's committed to adding value and impact in the lives of others by making a positive contribution and difference. So I'd like to welcome both of you to the Max Fortune Show.
Thank you. Thank you.
And again, what we are going to encourage people, viewers out there, if you would like to call in, ask any questions or comment, I think most of your comments will be coming up live on the screen as well. So we'll try to answer any comments that you have. And so what I want to start with is I'm going to start with kind of going over and getting both your opinions on success and how important is it to know yourself, or to know, and what I mean by know yourself is kind of knowing who you are and how that played into your success as far as, again, as far as accomplishing success. So I'm going to let ladies go first, and I'm going to have, Deborah, I'm going to have you say, or just kind of speak to that a little bit about knowing who you are and how that's helped you become successful.
Okay. Really quick, I can think back when I, went into corporate America and how quickly everybody else wants to define for you what success really is. And I'm a wife, I'm a mother of 3 children. And so for women in particularly, you've got to make sure that you define what success is for you and what will actually satisfy you. It may not be the success for another person, so you've really got to take a step back and not get caught up with what everybody else is doing and define that for yourself. And so the question becomes, what's going to fulfill you? What's going to make you happy? And then that's something that you can be true to. A lot of times you can't be successful because what you're trying to attain is not even you in the first place. And so find that first, and then you'll be able to succeed because that's something you can buy into personally. So I did that professionally in corporate America, as I did in my businesses when I decided to take the entrepreneurial route.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Joe, same question to you as far as knowing who you are, and I know you've had lots of different careers, and especially in the online retail. So why don't you speak to how important it was knowing who you are to kind of help you build the success that you've built?
Sure. And first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And I second what Deborah really said is really what success is different for everyone. What I can say for myself is keeping in mind the end game. Right. What the end game is. What kind of lifestyle do I really want? What type of legacy do I want to leave? And then that kind of grounded me as far as where I was going to head, because I really just wanted to focus on the end game. What was I really wanting to do with my life? And I wanted to be able to live my life on my own terms and carve out the life that I wanted to live and that nobody else was going to take away from me. And that, I think, was knowing myself and becoming successful within that. That is one of my first success was, I think, when I finally took a step back and said, what is the unrealistic expectation I have for my life? What do I really want it to look like? Because there's a lot of ways to get there. Sometimes you get put into a box of a job or your title or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's the lifestyle that you're living. And if you can get that and hold on to that and know you and what really fires you up at 2 a.m., what sits there and gets your energy levels up, then you can go out and get it. So, yeah, I second that.
Okay. So the next thing I really want to focus on, and again, I'm kind of focusing on this whole knowing yourself part and knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. And what I'll say about that is I believe it's very important to know what you're good at and areas of improvement. Weaknesses may be a strong word, but areas of improvement, areas that you can grow on or that you can be better at. And I think if you're kind of attack everything, approach everything, knowing what you're good at, what your strengths are, and you build on those strengths, and then you also focus on areas that you know you're not as strong in, and you kind of bring people to align with you to achieve success in the areas that you're not as strong in. And again, that's how you build success. So I'm going to start with you, Joe, on this one, and talk about how knowing your strengths and weaknesses has led to some of the success that you've achieved.
Yeah, well, here's the thing I've learned, that I make money with my strengths and I do hobbies with my weaknesses. And so for me, focusing on weaknesses really is something that I've learned not to even entertain. When I used to be a wrestler, I remember the wrestling coach said to me, he said, Joe, you learn 3 moves. 3 moves you can beat anybody. If you master those 3 moves, if you can master from neutral position, top position, bottom position, you master that, be unstoppable, you can win. And so, yeah, looking at my strengths, when I look across the board of what I'm really good at and I focus and hone in on that, I'm a force to be reckoned with. And so working on my strengths is like a hobby. It's, something to do. It's like golf. I'm terrible at it. I don't think I'll be making money at it, but it's a hobby and I enjoy it. But the strengths, when we focus on that, boy, we can really get out there and help people. Because every single person who's listening on this show and everybody out there has strengths. Everybody has skill sets. They've had God-given gifts. So, absolutely. So, yeah. You focus on your strengths and hobbies for your weaknesses.
And so, Deborah, the same thing to you, just as far as, or you know what, we're going to go with something a little different as far
Okay.
as, and you probably already had your answer already
No,
set.
I didn't. I was just gonna.
So here's what, one of the other things I feel when you're working towards accomplishing success or becoming successful, it's really, really important to find and develop good habits. And I can't stress that enough as far as developing a good routine, a good morning routine, a good wake-up routine. For me, one of the things that I do every morning is the first 15 minutes of my morning, I do spiritual reading.
Right.
And I think that that's very important, given those first 15 minutes. But whatever your routine is for success, I think it's very, very important to do that. So I really think anybody who out there who's looking to achieve success or be successful in life, success is really the little things you do over and over again. And it's not really the big things. It's the dozen or so little things that you do consistently over and over. It kind of goes back to what you just said about those 3 wrestling moves, So if you can get really good at a couple of different things and you just do those repeatedly, that's how success happens. So Deborah, so to you, the question is, as far as your success, what kind of habits do you form to help you accomplish or achieve success?
Okay. First and foremost, when you were out thinking about, or really posing the question, I started thinking about what I do consistently all the time. And I've done it for years. Number 1, at night, I always make a list at the end of a workday, what's on track for tomorrow. So I go to bed knowing tomorrow when I get up, what I've got to do. And I normally prioritize. We are in an age of technology. There's so much going on and everything is moving so fast that I prioritize 1, 2, 3 based on those items. And so the 1s and 2s, I know I've got to get done. The 3s are things that I can push to tomorrow and say, okay, I can move these up the ladder and make it a 1 or 2, or I can leave them as a 3. But the idea is I've got a list, and it's normally written down. A lot of times people want to do things and it's all in your head.
Right.
What happens is you forget.
Right.
If in fact it's on paper, I normally check off as I go. So not only do you have a list, you've got a list of accomplishments at the end of a day, so you feel like something got done. Sometimes even when you don't feel like a whole lot got done, it already got done. That's the first thing. In the morning, me too. I am normally in the gym for about an hour. I make sure I do that, and that's also the time that I'm working out, and that's my spiritual time. I'm giving the first fruit right then. I'm working out the body as well as the spirit and the mind, and so that's right out the gate. I'm praying, that kind of thing while I work out. Commitment and discipline is going to be the key. You've got to be consistent. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you cannot want to today and then not get back to it for another week or 2.
Right.
So you've got to be consistent. If you're looking for something long term, you've got to be consistent. Even though it may look like you're not really achieving everything that you want, it's going to be a little bit day after day after day. I know there's a saying, a lot of people probably heard it. You can never eat an apple in 1 bite. It's 1 bite at a time. So you've got to keep going.
You know what? I was smiling a little bit. My sister was smiling as you were saying something about the writing things down, because I'm addicted to a checklist. So
Yeah.
It could be really rewarding. As
Right.
simple as it is checking
Exactly.
something off of a list. It can be rewarding actually, and I kind of let that reward be I mean, it feels good to be able to
Right.
check something off a list.
Exactly.
It just does.
Yeah.
So I get on her all the time, hey, about the list, and I told her, listen, I'm a little old school with that because I like to write it down. I don't, she's got the checklist.
Technology,
and she
yeah.
likes to use the technology app and the phone thing. But I just like to actually physically check it off when I can. And so, Joe, also with you as far as, we're going to shift to modeling positive behavior.
Okay.
And just to keep you on your toes, I guess. I don't know.
Sure, totally audible. I'm okay.
I'm
Hey,
totally audible.
all right.
But I want you to speak to the importance of, a lot of times, as far as modeling positive behavior, sometimes there's all types of different kinds of role models. And for me, growing up, when I saw someone who was doing something positive, I always tried to really steal from positive people, steal positive things or attributes from people who I thought, did this really great or they did that wonderful. And I think that's one of the cues or one of the things that you can build on for being successful is watching other people who have achieved success and look at what they did. You don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time.
Right.
And really success, there's a formula. And if you model or you look at successful people, there's clearly a pattern to what they do that helps them to achieve success.
Yes.
So, talk to me about some of how does that model work in your life, or how does that help you to achieve success?
I can tell you two things that I've learned that have really changed my life is passion and humility. When you're passionate about what you're doing and who you are and passionate about your life and you're humble enough to go out there and ask questions, to be a good student, I'll tell you what, I've had just the greatest opportunities by asking questions. When I got into the fitness industry, I had very much of a blessing and privilege to sit at the footstool of some of the best trainers, wealth of knowledge that were gracious enough to teach me. And thankfully, I was humble enough, unknowingly at the time, really, to listen, to be open to learn. Success leaves clues. So I think if you want to be a really good golfer, right, you get around some of the best golfers in the world. You want to be a world-renowned speaker, start learning from the best speakers in the world. And so being passionate, like really being passionate, and I think everybody out there knows what passion really is. When you are so passionate, almost all game plans go out the window, really. I mean, passion supersedes getting punched in the mouth. Mike Tyson said it best, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. So passion gets you through that, but humility in knowing that we don't have all the answers, and then going out there and finding those mentors, finding those people, and being open to really listen, right? I mean, I think that's amazing. So it's really changed my life. It's made a big difference for me. It's just been a huge advantage that I've had in building friendships and great relationships and learning. So
Okay. And so with also, there's a saying, you become a product of your environment. So as far as success and I tell people all the time, if you want to be successful, you really do need to hang around successful people. And to be a success. And so I want to probably even bring both of you in on this one here, because the product being or controlling the environment, the place that you're around, or the people that you associate yourself with is so important, because whether you want to or not, their habits are going to rub off on you. And to be a success, I think you were just saying that as far as being around people who are successful, their habits, you start picking up on their habits. And again, that goes for people who are unsuccessful or not doing things that you want to do with your life. If you're around a lot of people who aren't getting anywhere, you're probably not going to get anywhere either. They say if you're around 10 broke people, you're probably going to be the 11th. And so we're going to go to you, Deborah, as far as how does the environment that you've had surrounded yourself, the people you've surrounded yourself with, how has that led to your success?
Oh, gosh. Let me kind of go back in my thought process. And I think first you've got to identify the fact that you unconsciously are impacted by your surrounding. Right. That's the first thing. You've got to own that, and you've got to audit it right from the very beginning. If you want to do anything significant, you've got to assess everything and say, okay, this person Like start to monitor or just listen to the conversations that you have. If everything is negative, if the person is complaining, that kind of thing, like some of them may even end up being family members, friends, people that you love. So you can't totally write them off, but you can have less conversations. You can have limited, guarded conversations, and when it starts to go the other way, you just immediately, just pull away. And so what I started to do really was just to assess everybody, and I defined my own board of directors. Okay, and so the board of directors were the people that I took advice from, the people that I looked up to, that I had a lot of respect for. It's not just business, but I'm really about, I'm big on integrity. And I'm big on being in an environment where people that are decent people, they've got a high level of integrity, which I think is lacking on every level right now. And that, will just do what they say they're going to do and have somebody else in mind other than themselves. So there've got to be people that really care, about people. And so I was looking for the right people that have also been an example to somebody else. And so I created my own mental board of directors. They don't know it, but these are the people that, I listen to, I will take advice from, that kind of thing. Some of them probably think they're on it and they're not. Does that make sense? And so, for me it was create a board of directors and then make sure those players are people that can add value to you and not take away. And that's the other problem with, a lot of times we surround ourselves with people that never deposit.
Right.
It's always a withdrawal.
Yeah.
And so what do you get in all that? So that's, what I did very early on, and I add people all the time, to that.
Joe, same thing to you, Dia. As far as talked about your environment or the people that you surround yourself with and how that's led to your success.
Sure. Well, I mean, I love to tell you I've always surrounded myself with wonderful people, but the honest answer is no. At times in my life, I've really surrounded myself with some people that were going in the wrong direction. Yeah, it is important. I think who you choose to quote unquote live with may be different who you love. I love everybody, but it doesn't mean I want to partner with everybody. I want to be around everyone, and everybody has a different way of living their life. There are a lot of negative people out there. The good thing is when you're really positive, guess what? Negative people tend to run away from you anyway. So as long as you're being really you, you tend to lose a lot of the stuff that's going to be in the way. So negativity doesn't exist in positivity. When you get around people that are really negative and you're talking positive, all of a sudden they actually get really negative about you being positive, and then they leave, right? It's so, and I think when you get around positive people, I think we all know. Look, we're all on this radio show here because we really believe in ourselves and in other people. We believe in the power of personal development. So guess what? The people that are listening to this radio show are my kind of people. And they're the kind of people that value what we have to say, and just like that, they're the kind of people that I value what they have to say. So automatically just being who we are, the best that we can be, is the greatest filter that we have.
Absolutely.
Really is. And just drawing those lines in the sand. Like, I mean, we can interact with people all we want, but doesn't mean we have to stop there for any length of time.
And that kind of definitely segues into the next element that I want to talk about as far as becoming a success, and that's being able to reinvent yourself daily. A lot of times people will find themselves going along one path and not realizing that you can turn it around at any given moment. You can change it anytime, and there's a power in knowing that tomorrow is a new day, that whatever happened yesterday doesn't have to continue, doesn't have to repeat. And I think that's something that successful people know and embrace, is that the ability to be able to reinvent yourself. And honestly, especially in the entrepreneur world, I mean, that's very, a lot of times there's a lot of reinvention happening there. But the ability to be able to do that, to be able to reinvent yourself and to, again, even model that positive behavior and become a new person. So you had something you want to say?
Yeah, I get real excited about this one, Max. I'm chopping it a bit because here's the reality is I think we all know this, that and not only is every day a new day, every hour is a new hour, every minute's a new minute, every second is a new second, and every day, every moment of every second we get to hit, if we had the chance to really hit the reset button. There's no rules in this game. Really, there isn't. And really, I can start over right now. I think I went to a seminar one time and actually taught that if you're like starting to think negatively and you're going down the wrong road, you just stop in your tracks and you yell reset.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever seen somebody walking down the street every 30 seconds? Reset! Reset! Tap, 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 reset. We can start over anytime we want. There's no, you don't have to wait till Monday. You don't have to wait till you go to sleep and wake up in the morning. You can literally start right then and there. And I'll tell you what, that's a truth, because I've had that happen in my life. Walking down the road and all of a sudden it's that aha moment. Didn't take a week, didn't take a month. It's that aha moment. I was like, boom, wow, that's it. I got it.
So Deborah, another question that I ask when it comes to success, and I'm going to ask you this straight out.
Yes.
Are you your best friend?
Absolutely.
Okay, so talk about how I in my book I wrote about how it's important to be your own best friend. And again, if you have a best friend, what happens being a best friend, again, we look after people we
Right.
love and care about, and sometimes people don't treat themselves, they're not very friendly to themselves. But in success and achieving success and wanting the best for anybody you consider your friend, let's talk about that and how that has again does apply to you, or how that's applied to you.
For me, like when I think about it, I learned a long time ago to not take myself that serious.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be okay with you. That's number one. And so, good, bad, or indifferent, you are who you are. What you don't like, change it. And so it starts there. And then I got to the point I was like, lighten up. You know what? If you make a mistake, like I can remember things where I totally blew it. I went in and talked to somebody and it just didn't go well. And I ended up having to use humor to overcome. It's like, you know what? You were terrible. That was okay. Tomorrow's a new day. Don't worry about it, and keep going. So I learned really quick to not take myself so serious and be okay with the mistakes that you make. Okay? Listen, the only way that you're making a mistake is that you're doing something.
Correct.
Okay? And the person sitting on the sideline that, doesn't want to make a mistake, they're not living, they're just existing. And there's a difference. And so if you're living life and going through experiences, you're going to mess up. You're going to fail. Things are not going to go the way you thought they would go all the time. And you got to be okay with that. And then you've got to take on the mentality of, okay, that was part of my experience. That's what it was supposed to have been. I'm going to learn from it and move forward. I'm always constantly looking at what can I do to make me better on every level. The things that I want to improve, I improve. The whole idea of working on this and working on that, we should constantly, if we're living, we're breathing, we should always be a work in progress. That's really how I see it. I don't care how young, I don't care how old. For me, as long as you're still breathing, there's a purpose and there's something for you to do. And so you're older, that means you know more. You make a whole lot more mistakes, hopefully, than somebody else. But lighten up, don't take yourself so serious, and be okay with you.
I agree. You agree with that, Joe?
I agree with it wholeheartedly.
You know what? I want to jump in real quick as you're saying this. Recently, a friend of mine said that something about, we were kind of talking about associations and being your friend, and he said something very simple, but it was very profound at the same time. If you can't change your friends, change your friends. You know what I mean? I thought that just stuck with me, and I just thought that's an incredible thing to think about when it comes to success. Yeah. If you can't change your friends, change your friends. Yeah.
That's good.
So the other thing that I think is I think people think that success is something that just one of the most important things to know and to realize is to focus on the things that you can control,
right,
and not let the things that you can't control you. Like I said, I see people constantly getting stuck on things that they cannot control, and really handing power over to things that they can't control. Mm-hmm. And so when you kind of focus on the things you can control, you actually take the power back in your own life, and it just helps you to feel more empowered when it comes to feeling success. So Joe, I'm going to ask you, as far as how that relates to you, as far as working, how is working on the things that you can control accomplish that helped you along your way?
Yeah. Well, I can say this. Look, perfection is the ruination of progress. And I think a lot of times the reason why it's confusing is what people have a different interpretation with success is because everybody's talking about success from almost like this perceived perfection. I think the greatest gift of making progress and doing all the things you were saying is I recognize very quickly that I'm a dumpster fire in certain areas of my life. I recognize that, and I realize that, and I understand that, and so that allows me to actually move forward, because that's a necessary part of making progress, being successful. Part of the formula, at least for me, has been realizing, guess what? I am really not going to be perfect. I'm not that hip, slick, and cool. I don't have all the answers, but I do know where to find some of them. I make a ton of mistakes. I miss more shots than I'll ever possibly make, and I can't put on the facade. Real, honest success. Call it like it is. Like, look, I make a ton of mistakes, but I reset, and I go. And so, yeah, so I wanted to say that. Was that the question? Was that good?
You know what?
Did that work? Did that work for everybody out there? Yeah. I felt I needed to say that. It was just there. It was a
And so, you know what, while we're kind of taking this we'll take a somewhat of a pause for the cause, and we'll ask you to, I guess, subscribe to Ask Max Fortune on Facebook, Twitter, social media, also on any social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But also, this is a show we do welcome calls. If anybody does want to call in, anybody's watching the show, the number to call in, right now we are live, is 301-429-9247. Again, it's 301-429-9247 if you'd like to call in and talk to either me or some of the guests here, either Deborah or Joe. And so I just wanted to say that. Also, you know, as we're talking about success and the really different elements that it takes to become a success, and I think, Deborah, you said this early on, that really success is more self-defined than, and I think that that's really important for people to understand, that you should not let anyone else define what's success for you. And it is going to mean different things to different people, and that needs to be okay.
Yep.
But it's not okay to not define what success means to you. So that is ultimately very important to know what is success. And again, to me, as far as achieving success and achieving dreams and goals, is also knowing the difference between a dream and a goal. And a dream is, again, what happens when you dream? You wake up and, you know, half the time you can't remember, or it's fuzzy or whatever.
Right.
But goals are things that you write down. You know, there's things that you work to. You create steps for it, and goals are achievable.
Right.
And so one of the other pegs on that, staying in this realm of knowing yourself and learning yourself, and again, just to continually reiterate the theme of today is knowing yourself, and how important knowing yourself and parts of yourself are important to achieving success. And one of the other elements is being able to foster self-confidence. You know, so in order to be effective in any campaign you have to feel like you can accomplish it. And I think I sometimes you hear people kind of talking down on themselves, or talking down themselves, I can't do this. And you know, if you have that kind of negative energy, if you're saying you can't do it, you're automatically defeated,
Right.
Self-defeated.
Right.
So again, fostering self-confidence or having confidence, or you know, some people say the fake it till you make it thing, or you know what I mean. And sometimes you have to do that. You know what I mean. You have to really get yourself psyched up, especially those of you who are really trying to accomplish anything in the way of business. I mean, business is tough. It's tough staying focused on business, is being a visionary and kind of bringing something to light that is really in your mind or in your head, and you have to bring it to life. But Deborah, talk about how that element of fostering self-confidence, or having some confidence, and talk about the importance of that to you, like having confidence in what you do and who you are.
For me, the whole idea of confidence and just positive in your own thinking of what it is you want to do. We probably are our own worst enemy, because there's a conversation going on internally with everybody. And normally that conversation is not going to be positive. So you need to work really hard at, if you're going to take the entrepreneurial route, work really hard to define who you are, which means get the pen and paper out. Again, guys, I promise you it'll make a difference. Write down, we don't give ourselves enough credit. Write down all your attributes, everything you can think of. We find it so easy to compliment or lift somebody else up, but we never lift ourselves up. You don't have to share this with anybody, but sit down and write a list of all the things that you think that you're good at or halfway good at, and then own that. You see, you've got to first own it. If you're willing to own who you are, what you're good at, and if you want on the other side, put the things that you're not good at, put that. And then right at the top, these are the things I will work on to get better so I can move them to the other side. Again, it goes back to always being a work in progress. I promise if you do that little exercise, you'll find that your confidence level will automatically go up because there's some things about you that are really good about you that you do that you never even give credit. Unfortunately, if you come from corporate America or any working environment, okay, that's where I come from. So I can tell you, I know. The whole idea is to never really tell you or highlight the things that you're good at because that justifies not giving you a raise. That justifies you not getting the promotion. So nobody's ever going to highlight or elevate you relative to what your true potential is. So you need to do it for yourself. Which says, you know what, let me pat myself on the back. I don't need somebody to endorse me. Let me endorse myself. That alone will lift you up. And when you get a little low in spirit sometimes, as an entrepreneur, that's normal. Okay? Sometimes you got to go back to the list and say, okay, I've had some bumps, I've had some bruises, I fell down a whole lot, but I'm still good. And then operate in that capacity.
I think it's great information, and again, like you, I have to tell you, I'm really a big person on writing things down.
Me too.
And again, in this day and age where people don't write anything, to type everything up, there's just a power that happens when you transfer a thought to paper.
Correct.
And seeing your mind or seeing your hand write something, it just allows you to commit things to memory. It's actually making it real.
Yeah.
Typing, I think, is good, and I'm slow to embrace that. I'm trying. My assistant's working on me, but I don't know if she's going to win that one. I really don't know. But there's a power in writing things and seeing what you write down, and that I just know that there's something that transfers from pen to paper when you write things down. So I think that I'm going to kind of hold on to that a little bit when it comes to success. I think writing things down and bringing things, I think, is just as important as breathing things or saying positive affirmations.
Yeah.
Is so very important. When it comes to being successful, focusing on success, focus on whatever success you are, being able to be positive about what you're doing and saying positive things. I just had a recent conversation with someone just talking about how important it is to really surround yourself with positivity as much as you can. I think you were also saying something about that as well.
Yeah.
And that being your environment. So I think that's very, very important and critical. One of the things also I think is really, really important, and I don't know, I haven't heard this much, as something I wrote about in my book Success, is really that self-discovery piece and knowing yourself, is learning how to find your own inner genius. And how important that is. We all have unique qualities and unique gifts and skills that we're blessed with, and so many people just don't really focus on what they're really good at and concentrate on that. But what I do want to talk about is, again, is finding your inner genius. To me is taking those necessary steps, or those steps to really find out what your skills and talents are, your special skills and talents. So Joe, with you, as far as finding your inner genius,
Sure.
And you know what, I've had the pleasure of knowing Joe for a while. He's a really good connector of people, and he's some guy that can really just connect almost instantly with almost anybody. And so I really like that about you. But talk about how you found your inner genius, or what your inner genius is, how that works for you, or how that works with you.
I wish I could tell you the exact moment, but I can't. I can tell you that for most of my life, I've always felt like I was in a box. I was in an education system that I didn't realize. I wasn't a great student. I was like a C student at best. I really was bored most of the time. I didn't fit into that schedule. Even when I got out of high school and stuff, took different jobs and started working different places. I never could put my own spin on everything. I'd always fit into somebody else's vision, somebody else's box. And then moving forward, and when I got into law enforcement stuff, I was just a badge number. I was in the box. So, but throughout all that whole process, I don't know, there was always just something in me, that rebel side of me that wanted to just break out of just this box that I felt like I was put in. And I'll tell you what happened. I actually started asking myself questions. You know, the power of asking questions. I started talking to myself, and it sounds weird, but I started really asking myself, you know, Joe, who are you and what do you really want to do? And is that you saying that, or is somebody else telling you that and you're just trying to find a way to agree with it? And I remember just sitting there. And I did that a lot. I remember I'd get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'd go down to the local church parking lot and I'd just sit there and what is my purpose for this life? It cannot be to just wake up in a box, to go watch a box, to get in a box, to go to just a job that I didn't necessarily want, to come back home and repeat, rinse, wash. And I started asking questions. And I think from that, then I started to discover who I am and what I'm good at. And maybe, quote unquote, the genius. I dare label myself as a genius, but if you want to label me that, that's fine. But I think that's where I started finding myself. And I tell you what, it took a process. It took a long time for me to get really good at that and own that, because guess what? Most of the world is trying to tell you to sit down and shut up. Just fall in line.
Right.
Just do as you're told. And yeah, I am definitely the other guy. When they say sit down, I stand up. So I don't know, maybe I'm wired that way, but so that's kind of how I found that.
Well, you know what? Like I said, I think that's important stuff, and I think people just think that people who are successful or have achieved any kind of success just kind of stumbled upon it, or they had some kind of magical thing that no one else has.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, success is failure turned inside out.
That's right.
And I'll just speak to myself or about myself for just a moment. Some years ago, actually early in my 20s, I was I was married really early.
How long ago was that?
Not that long ago.
Were they had 8 tracks back then?
They did not. They did not have
No,
eight tracks. But I remember getting fired for the first time. And I don't know if either of you ever been fired from a job. But at the time, I was 22 years old. I was married, 3 kids, and my wife didn't work.
No.
And getting fired in a situation like that is, it's tough to say the least. That's a challenge. And so actually, I was working selling cars, and this particular car company, I'm not going to say their name, they had a habit of bringing on 5 or 6 sales reps, kind of paying horrible training pay and letting everybody go, keeping one. And I just wasn't one of the ones that got kept, you know. And back in that day, I was really, I still really hadn't discovered myself. I was a person who, if you approach me, I could tell you everything about these cars, but I just really didn't have that go-getter spirit back then. And because of that, I think that led to me not being the person that they kept on. The interesting thing is, I got fired from that job, and I actually found another job maybe a month or 2 later, and was on that job for 3 months. And guess what? I got fired again. So I got fired 2 times in 6 months.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And never been fired before that ever in life, and never got fired since then. But there's a segment in my book that I wrote called "Getting Fired Up," and it's not like getting fired up from getting excited. But what happens is that first job at Toyota. Oh, jeez, I haven't said it. The place that I worked.
Well, you're live too. We can't even go back and edit that
We
one.
can't really edit that.
Anyway, moving on. Sleight of hand.
That first place I was working.
Anyway, right.
The first place I was looking was a particular place in that place. So if anybody has heard that, it's not that whole place. It's just one particular
Right.
place. Anyway, I'm moving on. So that particular
Failure way
dealership-
forward.
Yes, there you go. But that particular deals when I was only making $1,000 a month. And again, this was some years ago.
Right.
So I was making $1,000 a month. They were a family of 5 on $1,000 a month.
Wow.
It was probably over 20 years ago. It wasn't as bad as it sounds, okay, when you kind of put it in that perspective. But it still was bad. It was tough.
Right.
The second job I got right after that, I was making $1,500 a month. So I got $500 more. But then here I go, 3 months later, I get fired from that job. So, you know, you can imagine what everybody's looking at me saying, and even myself. I mean, those are things that are very challenging things to go through, and what happens to you when you get fired or have any kind of major setback or something like that. There's a lot of things that happen. What did happen is I ended up taking an opportunity that changed my life, and that's the whole point of this story. I actually took a job doing something I probably would have never done.
Right.
I went and got a job selling vacuum cleaners door to door for Electrolux, and I'm proud to say they're a great company, great machines out there. You can have me endorse you anytime. But they're great machines. I had a guy brought me in under his wing, but they kind of give you a machine, vacuum cleaning shampoo, and you go out there and you sell it. Again, I was telling you, I was making from $1,000 a month to $1,500 a month. To my first year, my first full 12 months, I made $50,000. That many years ago, and I've never looked back since then. But what happens is, if I never got fired from that first job, I'd probably still be selling cars. I might still be a car salesman.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Or the second job was furniture. I was selling furniture. And the second one was my fault. The first one wasn't so much. But the moral of that is that sometimes when bad things happen,
Right.
People don't get up. They don't understand that sometimes one door is closing so bigger doors can open.
That's right.
And Deborah, I'm going to turn this over to you because I know you have a powerful story about overcoming and how you kind of got back up and how you really just turned things around. So just speak to that a little bit.
Sure. As you were talking, I was just kind of going back in my mind. It's been about 10 years that I didn't get fired. My company, one Monday morning, they filed bankruptcy.
Wow.
So VP of top 5 lenders in the country, they filed bankruptcy. And so I went from a multiple six-figure income on a Friday to zero money on Monday. I found out by watching television. It came up. I watch CNN. I come from the financial world. I watch CNN every morning. It comes up on the ticker on the television. That was my first notification. So I was totally blown away. I felt like I was like in the Twilight Zone. Like you see it happening. So you get closer to the television thinking it's going to change. I'm like, oh my God. By the end of the week, my company was closed. And so, a lot of other people I was responsible for, that kind of thing. So it was probably one of the toughest weeks I went through because it wasn't just me, it was everybody else. You care about people and that kind of thing. And, the question became, what am I going to do? I could lay down and cry about it and act like a victim, or I could stand up, dust myself off, get myself together, and say, you know what? It happened for a reason. I didn't even understand at that time why. I just knew that I needed to do something. And so I had already, made an investment in an online business, and it was just sitting there. I was so busy and so consumed doing what I was doing that I didn't even take the time to really look at what I had as potential. So, the whole idea of things happen that you think are bad put you in a place to see something that was really a total blessing to me. And so I looked at it very seriously, my business I had invested in, and I went to work. 2.5 years later, I replaced my income, and I just kept going. And so if I can tell you anything about entrepreneur, was I unsure, that this was going to work? Absolutely. Was there a fear factor? Maybe not. Maybe it won't. But I was also saying, just like maybe it won't happen, what if it does happen? And so, for me, it's always glass half empty, glass half full. You've got the option to look at it either way. So either, it could work or it's definitely not going to work. I took on the mentality, it's definitely going to work because I'm going to work. That's the other problem I find with a lot of, people that say, I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to get out of the box and they want to do all that, but it will not happen by osmosis. You are going to have to work. You're going to have to put in some time, more time than you would on your job. What I realized when I look back in retrospect is I was blessed to be really good at what I did. I did what I was trained to do. But the flip side of that is I'm now doing what I was called to do. And that's really where the blessing is. And so I went from working, making great money, just being trained to do that, where I was almost robotic, to being able to have the rug snatched out from under me, where it's like, what do I do? It's going to be about a decision. What am I going to do? You can decide, you can walk around and tell everybody what happened, or you can get up and do something and make things different. That's exactly what I did. And so, I would share with anybody that if you've gotten laid off, if, something has happened, don't be the victim. You decide to be the victim. And if you've been thus far and make a decision today, no longer will I be a victim. I'm going to be a victor because I'm going to get up. I'm going to dust myself off. I'm going to get it together. I'm going to talk to somebody that can help guide me in the right way so I can do what it is that I was really called to do. Because if you're no longer in that job, that's what you were trained to do. And there's a difference between being trained to do something and being called to do something else.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. You know what? We have a caller on the line. Caller, can you hear me? Caller, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, yes, this is the Max Fortune Show. How can I help you?
Hi. I was calling to answer the question.
Okay, what was the question?
I'm not sure.
You already put that out there?
Hello?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Is it the fun facts for the guests?
I think it is. We didn't get to that part of the show
Hey,
yet.
that's all right.
Is it Joe?
Is it Joe?
Hello?
Okay. You know what? I think you're probably a little bit early. We have a segment of the show we didn't get to yet. But you know what? It's probably time. It's probably we're wrapping up. What I'd like to do, just to let everybody know there's a segment that I wanted to do, which was called Guess the Guest.
Oh, good. I love guess the guest.
So we have a couple of questions, and you kind of, by now you've got a chance to hear some of the guests, Deborah and Joe here, and so we have some questions, and that we wanted to put out there to people for people to call in and call while you're on the line. You can ask you the question now, and you can answer, while we have you on the line. There is I'm going to ask the question is. Which one of these two guests was featured in the Success from Home magazine 3 consecutive years in a row? Which one do you think was? Caller, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I said the getting to know, kind of hearing the show and kind of hearing both guests. One of these guests here was featured in the Success from Home magazine 3 consecutive years in a row. Which of these guests do you think was featured in the Success from Home magazine 3 years in a row? Deborah or Joe? You got a 50-50 chance.
I'm guessing Deborah.
You know what? You're guessing correct. That is correct. That is correct. What we're gonna do, caller, we're gonna actually try to get your information offline so we actually have a special prize for you. We do have
All right, yeah, okay. Woo!
we have a very special vacation voucher. We're gonna send you on a free trip for 2, courtesy of the Max Fortune Show, for answering that right. We just have to get some information on you.
Outstanding.
I think there's also another caller on the line.
Hold on, I'm here.
Okay, so hold on. Somebody's going to get your information. What is your name again?
It's Shantae.
Shantae. Okay, wonderful. Thanks for calling the Max Fortune Show. Please stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to Ask Max Fortune, okay? On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere.
Check it all out,
Check it all
Shantae.
out.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have another caller on the line. Caller, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, you want to call in to answer questions, the Guess the Guest segment?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to ask you the next question is, which one of these guests do you think was a lead singer in a band, either Deborah or Joe?
I'm going to say Deborah.
Deborah, no, sorry. The answer would be Joe. Joe
That's right. Yeah.
was in the boy
United
band.
by one. Woo!
Was it?
Yeah, United by One. That's
United
right.
by
Yeah,
One,
that's
okay.
right. Lead singer.
All right, you were the lead singer?
Lead singer.
You want to belt some tunes for us?
I'll have a blue. Hallelujah.
Caller, thank you for calling in. Thanks for calling in, Carl. Thanks for playing. Please continue to subscribe to the show. Continue to watch the show. Thanks for anybody else who's calling in or watching the show. As far as the comments, again, we do this every week. As we're wrapping up, I do want to say that first I want to thank my esteemed guest, Joe Farina, for coming on to the show. And for Deborah MacGyver, thank you for coming on to the show, Deborah. You guys have been fantastic guests. Thank you very much. Thanks for everybody who's tuning in and who's listening. Again, what we do want to do is we're going to be on this on WBGR every Thursday from 4:30 to 5:30. Again, every week the segments changes a little bit. So next week we're going to do our Get Rich in Your Niche segment, where it's going to be focusing on small business owners. So if you're a small business owner and you want to learn some techniques on how to grow your business, please stay tuned or tune in next Thursday from 4:30 to 5:30 for the Max Fortune Show. We have esteemed guests lined up for that show. You want it to be definitely want to tune in for that. You don't want to miss anything. Again, I want to say again, thank you all for joining the show, for
welcome.
coming on. I think we're out of time today. Please, I'm going to ask you to go to my website, AskMaxFortune.com. Please subscribe to Facebook. Subscribe to us on Facebook at AskMaxFortune. Here we go. Follow us on all social media at AskMaxFortune. You can also, again, as I mentioned earlier, go to the website and then also subscribe to our YouTube channel. So please tune in next week where we're going to do our Get Rich in Your Niche segment. I think that's all I have for this week. Again, thank you for coming on, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Joe.
Max. Thank you.
Deborah, thank you so much.
No
Okay.
problem.
And that's it for the show. Thank you for tuning in. Again, please continue to tune in next week. We'll see you next week. Thank you.